Welcome back, spiritual seekers. Today, we got a good one. Let's dive in. In the great philosophical and spiritual traditions of India, debates about the nature of reality and consciousness shaped not only metaphysics, but also devotional practice. Among these debates, one of the most important was between Shankara's Advaita Vedanta, which saw the world as Maya, and Ramanuja's Vishishtadvaita, or qualified non-dualism, which affirmed the reality of both God and the individual soul. Ramanuja, living in the 11th and 12th centuries, challenged Shankara's insistence that the world and the self were ultimately illusory. Instead, he declared that the cosmos, souls, and God are distinct yet inseparably united. Consciousness, in this vision, is not swallowed up by the absolute, but becomes a living, eternal expression of divine being. In this script, we will journey through 7 sections, exploring Ramanuja's life, philosophy, and the profound implications of Vishishtadvaita for understanding consciousness and God. The life and vision of Ramanuja. Ramanuja was born in 1017 CE in southern India, into a family of Brahmins. From early on, he displayed both intellectual brilliance and deep spiritual devotion. Though he studied under teachers influenced by Shankara's Advaita, he was dissatisfied with the idea that the soul and world were mere illusions. Instead, he sought a philosophy that could reconcile reason with the lived reality of devotion and love for God. Eventually, he became one of the greatest theologians of Vaishnavism, writing extensive commentaries on the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Brahma Sutras. His vision of Vishishtadvaita not only offered a philosophical alternative, but also inspired a devotional revolution, emphasizing that God can be known and loved personally, and that souls are real, eternal participants in divine life. The heart of Ramanuja's teaching is qualified non-dualism. While Shankara taught that only Brahman is real and everything else is illusion, Ramanuja argued that Brahman includes within itself real distinctions. The world and the souls are not illusions, but actual expressions of the divine. To explain this, he used the analogy of body and soul. Just as the body is distinct from but inseparably united with the soul, so too the cosmos and individual selves exist within and are sustained by God. Brahman is the whole. The world and souls are its real parts, dependent yet genuine. This philosophy preserved both the unity of reality and the real individuality of consciousness, bridging metaphysical insight with devotional life. So, what is the reality of the soul? For Ramanuja, the soul is not an illusion, but an eternal spark of the divine. Unlike Shankara, who claimed that the ego and individuality must ultimately dissolve into Brahman, Ramanuja insisted that individuality is real and everlasting. The soul is distinct from God, yet inseparably connected, a mode of divine being. This means that human consciousness is not a passing shadow of the infinite, but an authentic participant in God's life. In Vishishtadvaita, the ultimate destiny of the soul is not to lose itself, but to awaken to its eternal relationship with Brahman, characterized by devotion, service, and love. This view gave profound dignity to human existence. Each soul is eternally meaningful, a real reflection of divine intelligence. God as personal and immanent. One of Ramanuja's greatest contributions was to emphasize the personal nature of God. For him, Brahman is not an impersonal absolute, but Narayana, Vishnu, the supreme being full of infinite qualities, love, wisdom, compassion, and power. God is both transcendent, beyond the universe, and immanent, dwelling within every soul and sustaining all things. This vision resonated deeply with the Bhakti, devotional movements of India, which saw the path to liberation not only as knowledge but as loving surrender. Consciousness in this framework becomes a dialogical reality. The soul finds its fulfillment not in dissolving, but in entering into eternal communion with God, who is both the source and the beloved of all beings. The cosmos as God's body. In Vishishtadvaita, the cosmos itself is the body of God. Just as the human body is animated by the soul, so the universe is animated by the divine presence. This means that every aspect of creation is a living expression of Brahman. Nature, history, and individual lives are not distractions from ultimate reality, but revelations of it. To Ramanuja, the material world is real and sacred, not a deception to be transcended. By contemplating creation, one can perceive the divine wisdom and love that sustains it. In this way, Ramanuja united metaphysics with ecology and devotion. To honor the world is to honor God, and to awaken in consciousness is to see everything as the manifestation of divine being. If you got to this point, remember to subscribe, like, and comment. This really helps this project, and your support means the world to us. Now let's continue. For Ramanuja, liberation, moksha, was not the dissolution of the self into impersonal consciousness, but the realization of eternal communion with God. Liberation comes through a combination of knowledge, jnana, ethical action, karma, and above all, devotion, bhakti. The soul, when freed from ignorance and karma, awakens to its true nature, not as an isolated ego, but as an eternal servant and lover of God. In this state, consciousness does not vanish, but flowers fully, rejoicing in its relationship with the infinite. Liberation is thus not escape, but participation. The soul living forever in the bliss of God's presence, distinct yet inseparably united. What is Ramanuja's legacy for consciousness? Ramanuja's Vishishtadvaita offered a vision that spoke both to philosophers and to ordinary seekers. By affirming that souls are real, that the world is real, and that God is both personal and ultimate, he created a philosophy that honored both reason and devotion. For modern reflections on consciousness, his thought provides an alternative to radical non-dualism. It affirms unity while preserving individuality, showing that consciousness is not swallowed by the infinite, but embraced within it. In Ramanuja's vision, each soul is eternally valuable, a unique expression of divine intelligence, destined for loving union with God. His teaching remains a luminous reminder that to awaken is not to erase the self, but to discover its eternal place in the living body of the divine. The soul as real expression of God. Ramanuja's philosophy of Vishishtadvaita stands as a profound counterpoint to Shankara's Advaita. By affirming that Brahman is the ultimate reality while also recognizing the genuine reality of souls and the cosmos, he preserved both unity and distinction. For him, consciousness is not a fleeting illusion, but a real spark of God's being, destined for eternal communion. The world, too, is not false, but the living body of the divine. Ramanuja invites us to see ourselves as inseparably connected to God, not as shadows awaiting dissolution, but as beloved participants in the infinite, where individuality and unity find their fulfillment in divine love.